What if I told you that every person around you, your friends, your co-workers, even your closest relationships, are constantly revealing their true nature, not through their words, not through their rehearsed actions, but in the moments they least expect? People can fake kindness. They can pretend to be confident. They can even manipulate how they are perceived. But no one can control how they react in certain key situations. And it's in these moments, fleeting, unguarded, impossible to mask, that you see who they really are. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone suddenly change when given a little power? Or witnessed a person's face betray their real feelings when someone else succeeds? These aren't accidents, they're windows, and today you're about to unlock them. In this video, we'll break down 6 defining moments that expose a person's true character without them even realizing it. Once you recognize these patterns, you'll never see people the same way again. More importantly, you'll start to understand yourself on a whole new level. Because the truth is, these moments don't just reveal them, they reveal you. Let's begin. 1. How they react to silence. There are moments when words disappear, when conversations hit an unexpected pause, and in those moments, something powerful happens. You see who a person truly is. Imagine this. You are in a high-stakes business meeting, sitting across from a senior executive. The deal is almost sealed. Then, instead of immediately responding to their latest offer, you let silence take over. 5 seconds pass. The air feels heavier. 10 seconds. The executive shifts uncomfortably in his chair. He taps his fingers on the table, clears his throat, and before you even say a word, he speaks again, offering a better deal, one he had no intention of revealing. What just happened? Silence, when used intentionally, has an uncanny way of exposing what lies beneath the surface. People fear silence because it strips away the rehearsed, leaving only what is raw and unguarded. The ability to remain calm in silence is a mark of confidence, while the inability to endure it reveals insecurity, anxiety, or even deception. You have likely encountered someone who fills every quiet moment with unnecessary words, justifying themselves even when no justification was required. Why do they do this? Because silence creates pressure, and under pressure, truth slips out. A confident individual does not rush to fill the void. They know that silence is not empty, it is a force, a test, a revelation. A person who is truly secure in themselves is not threatened by quiet, they embrace it. In contrast, those who are uncomfortable with silence tend to overcompensate. They ramble, they fidget, they talk faster than necessary. They expose more than they intend. Now, consider how this applies to your own life. Think back to a time when you were in a disagreement. Did you feel the need to immediately respond, to defend yourself, to counter every argument? Or were you able to sit with the silence, allowing it to work in your favor? The next time someone criticizes you, try something different. Pause. Let them speak. Instead of jumping in with a reaction, observe what happens when you remain quiet. You may find that they soften their stance, contradict themselves, or reveal insecurities they hadn't meant to share. This principle is especially powerful when detecting dishonesty. Liars rely on momentum. They craft a story and ride the flow of conversation to maintain control. But when you introduce silence, you disrupt that flow. Suddenly, they must navigate the weight of their own words without external cues to guide them. Watch closely. Does their breathing change? Do they start to add unnecessary details? Do they attempt to shift the subject? The truth stands firm in silence. Lies, however, need constant reinforcement to survive. Outside of negotiations and deception, silence reveals the dynamics of relationships. Have you ever noticed that some people feel the need to fill every quiet moment with chatter, while others are completely at ease in the absence of words? A relationship where silence feels natural, where neither person feels pressure to constantly entertain the other, is a relationship built on security. But if every pause feels awkward, forced, or unbearable, it often signals an underlying tension or a lack of emotional depth. Great leaders understand this. They do not rush to fill silences with unnecessary words. They let moments breathe. When an employee comes to them with a problem, they listen, absorbing before responding. This is not hesitation, it is control. True power lies not in the ability to speak, but in the ability to remain silent when necessary. The weak leader, on the other hand, fears silence. They talk to assert dominance, mistaking volume for authority. But those who command true respect understand that silence, when used correctly, is far louder than words. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone." Meditations. This is the mindset of a Stoic, the ability to embrace silence, to pause before reacting, and to seek truth rather than ego-driven responses. A person who is truly in control of themselves does not fear silence because they do not fear self-reflection. Now, let's make this practical. Here's an experiment you can try today. The next time someone asks you a question, wait 2 extra seconds before answering. If you're in a debate, let silence settle after the other person speaks. In a negotiation, resist the urge to immediately respond to an offer. Watch what happens. Watch how the air shifts, how the other person reacts. And most importantly, watch how you feel. Do you feel an urge to break the silence, to justify, to over-explain? Or can you sit with it, knowing that you are in control? Because in the end, silence is not empty. It is a mirror. It reveals what words often try to hide. If you know how to use it, you will see people as they truly are. And if you learn to master it within yourself, you will gain something even greater, an unshakable sense of self. What about you? Have you ever noticed how someone reacts to silence? What did it reveal? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this insight was valuable to you, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. There's much more to uncover. 2. How they react to criticism. Everyone loves praise. It reassures us, fuels our confidence, and reinforces the image we hold of ourselves. But if you want to see someone's true character, don't watch how they handle compliments. Watch how they handle criticism. Picture this. You're in a meeting and a colleague receives feedback about their recent project. The comment is polite, constructive, and meant to help, but suddenly you see it, the shift in their body language. Their shoulders stiffen, their face tightens, their voice rises just a little too quickly as they rush to explain why the critique is unfair. "Well, I didn't have enough time." That's not what happened. You don't understand the full picture. They are no longer listening, they are defending. And in that instant, they reveal something crucial. Their ego is running the show. Now imagine a different scenario. Another person in the same situation receives the same feedback. But instead of reacting emotionally, they take a breath. They pause, they ask, "That's interesting, can you tell me more?" They lean into the discomfort instead of resisting it. This reaction signals something entirely different. It shows confidence, emotional resilience, and the rare ability to separate self-worth from criticism. This person is not fragile, they are adaptable, and adaptability is the foundation of real strength. The difference between these two reactions? One person is controlled by their ego, the other controls their ego. This pattern extends far beyond the workplace. Have you ever tried to bring up a concern in a relationship only to have the other person react defensively, aggressively, or dismissively? Maybe you say something as simple as, "I felt hurt when you forgot about our plans," and instead of acknowledging it, they snap back, "So now I'm the bad guy." This isn't just an argument, it's a window into their emotional maturity. A person who cannot handle small criticisms will never handle big ones. And in relationships, friendships, or business, this inability to accept feedback will create a wall that prevents growth. So ask yourself, how do you react when someone points out a mistake? Is your first instinct to listen or to defend? Because the truth is, criticism is inevitable. The only thing we control is how we respond to it. The Stoics mastered this understanding centuries ago. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." Discourses. What does this mean? It means that if criticism makes you defensive, the problem is not the words, it is your attachment to your own ego. A strong person does not fear correction, they seek it out. A weak person takes it personally and resists. This concept is especially obvious in leaders. The best leaders welcome feedback. They know that every criticism, when taken with the right mindset, is an opportunity to refine their thinking, improve their decisions, and lead more effectively. But insecure leaders, they surround themselves with yes men. They reject input, fearing that any flaw exposed makes them less credible. The same applies to business, relationships, and self-growth. If you resist every piece of feedback, you stagnate. If you embrace it, you evolve. So how do you develop this mindset? Try this experiment. The next time someone critiques you, resist the urge to respond immediately. Pause. Let the words settle before saying anything. Instead of arguing, try asking, what part of this is true? Even if the criticism is harsh, unfair, or exaggerated, there is almost always something useful in it. This does not mean accepting all criticism blindly. Some feedback is biased, emotional, or simply incorrect, but the ability to listen first and evaluate later is what separates the strong from the fragile. Once you stop reacting emotionally, you gain something powerful, mental clarity. You become immune to knee-jerk defensiveness, and you start seeing criticism for what it really is, a tool, not a threat. Now let's flip this perspective. It's not just about how you take criticism, it's also about how you give it. Have you ever noticed that some people can deliver feedback in a way that instantly triggers defensiveness, while others can say the same thing and inspire improvement? This is because how we phrase criticism determines whether it is received or rejected. Saying, "You always mess this up," will put anyone on the defensive. But saying, "I noticed something that might make this even better. Want to hear it?" invites collaboration instead of resistance. The best communicators don't just criticize, they guide. So pay attention, not just to how others react to criticism, but to how you deliver it. Are you triggering defensiveness, or are you opening a door for improvement? This brings us back to the key question. How do people around you handle criticism? Do they absorb it, process it, and use it to grow? Or do they resist, defend, and make excuses? That reaction tells you everything. And now, here's your challenge. For the next week, become hyper-aware of criticism. Watch how people respond when they are corrected. Watch how you respond. And the next time you feel defensive, try this. Pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what if they're right? Because in the end, the people who handle criticism best are the ones who rise the highest, and the ones who let their ego block their growth. They stay exactly where they are, trapped in their own resistance. What about you? Have you ever noticed how people react to criticism? What did it reveal? Drop a comment below, and if this insight shifted your perspective, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. The next lesson will open your eyes in ways you never expected. Stay tuned. 3. How they handle power. Seneca once said, "Power does not change people. It only reveals who they truly are." This statement holds profound truth. If you want to see a person's true character, give them a little power. It doesn't have to be much. A promotion at work, control over a project, or even something as small as deciding where to eat in a group setting. Power is a magnifying glass that exposes what already exists beneath the surface. The humble become more compassionate, the insecure grasp for control, and the corrupt, they become dangerous. Imagine you are working on a team project, and one person is chosen as the leader. Before, they were collaborative, listening to others and working together. But the moment they have authority, their demeanor shifts. They start dismissing ideas without consideration, making unilateral decisions, and speaking with an air of superiority. This change is not caused by power itself, but rather power giving them the opportunity to show who they really are. On the other hand, a true leader understands that authority is a responsibility, not a privilege. They uplift their team, encourage input, and make decisions that benefit everyone, not just themselves. This concept extends far beyond the workplace. Have you ever been in a relationship where one person held more influence, whether financially, emotionally, or socially? How did they handle that power? Did they use it to nurture and protect, or did they manipulate and control? The way someone treats you when they have leverage over you speaks volumes about their character. A person who remains kind, fair, and respectful, even when they have the upper hand, is someone with a strong moral compass. But a person who belittles, coerces, or takes advantage of others when in power is showing you who they truly are. History is filled with cautionary tales of leaders who let power consume them. From rulers who became tyrants to executives who lost touch with their teams, power has a way of amplifying our deepest tendencies. But great leaders, those who truly deserve authority, understand that leadership is about service. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, ruled as emperor with this mindset. He constantly reminded himself that his role was not to indulge in personal gains, but to act as a servant to the Roman people. The ability to hold power without being consumed by it is a rare but invaluable trait. Now, let's bring this into daily life. The next time you're in a social situation, observe how people behave when given even the smallest amount of authority. Watch how a person treats a waiter at a restaurant, how they act when put in charge of a group, or how they behave when making decisions that affect others. Do they become more compassionate or more arrogant? Do they empower or oppress? These small tests reveal much about the way they would act if given greater power. But this lesson isn't just about observing others. It's about observing yourself. How do you react when you have power? When you're put in charge, do you listen to others or do you dismiss them? Do you use your authority to support people or do you let your ego take control? Power is not inherently good or bad. It is a tool. And like any tool, its impact depends on how it is used. Those who seek power only for personal gain often find themselves isolated and resented. But those who approach power with humility and responsibility earn lasting respect. Here's a challenge for you. Over the next week, pay close attention to how power operates in your daily interactions. Notice who wields it wisely and who abuses it. More importantly, Pay attention to yourself. When you are in a position of influence, do you act with integrity? Because in the end, how you handle power is one of the greatest tests of character. If you were given unlimited power today, would you still recognize yourself tomorrow? If you want to read people without them knowing, the simplest and most revealing test is to observe how they react to criticism. This is something you encounter daily in conversations at work, in friendships, and even in casual interactions. Paying attention to this single reaction can tell you volumes about a person's character, emotional strength, and inner stability. It is, without a doubt, the first test you should conduct if you want to truly understand someone. Imagine this. You offer constructive feedback to a colleague or a friend. The feedback is not harsh, just an honest assessment or a suggestion for improvement. Now, watch closely. Do they listen attentively, nodding as they process the information, or do they immediately tense up, crossing their arms, their face stiffening as if bracing for an attack? The way a person reacts to criticism is a mirror reflecting their ego, self-perception, and ability to grow. People with fragile egos often take criticism as a personal attack. Their responses become defensive. They either attempt to justify their actions, dismiss the feedback altogether, or shift blame onto external factors. Their speech may speed up, their tone may become sharper, and their body language may scream discomfort. These are indicators of insecurity, an internal struggle where their self-worth is too tightly tied to their perceived infallibility. The inability to handle feedback suggests that they are ruled by ego rather than reason. When someone cannot separate their self-worth from their actions, they see every piece of criticism as a threat to their identity rather than an opportunity to improve. Conversely, emotionally resilient individuals approach criticism with an open mind. Instead of reacting defensively, they take a breath, process what is being said, and consider whether it holds truth. Even if they disagree, they seek clarification rather than reacting with hostility. This reaction demonstrates self-confidence and a commitment to self-improvement. A person who calmly listens to feedback without feeling personally attacked is someone who prioritizes growth over their ego. This principle is particularly evident in the workplace. Leaders who can accept constructive criticism foster an environment of trust and innovation. They are not threatened by suggestions, but embrace them as valuable insights for improvement. On the other hand, managers or colleagues who become hostile when given feedback create an atmosphere of fear and stagnation. In such environments, employees hesitate to voice concerns, leading to poor decision-making and inefficiency. If you want to assess a superior, simply offer a small suggestion and observe their reaction. A leader who dismisses all feedback is one who fears vulnerability. A great leader, however, actively seeks critique and encourages discussions that challenge their perspectives. This dynamic extends into personal relationships as well. A healthy relationship thrives on communication, including the ability to discuss flaws or concerns without escalating into conflict. If you bring up a minor issue with a friend or partner and they immediately get defensive, accuse you of being unfair, or retaliate with their own criticisms, it's a warning sign. They might see any form of critique as an attack rather than an opportunity to strengthen the relationship. A mature individual, in contrast, will listen, ask questions, and acknowledge areas where they can improve. In Stoic philosophy, there is a fundamental principle. No one can truly harm you unless you allow them to. Epictetus famously stated, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." Discourses, Book 1, Chapter 18. A Stoic individual does not let criticism shake them because they recognize that feedback, whether fair or unfair, is simply information. Instead of resisting it, they analyze it logically and determine whether it serves them in their pursuit of growth. If it does, they apply it. If it doesn't, they discard it without resentment. 4. How they handle failure. If you truly want to see someone's character, watch how they react when things don't go their way. Failure is an unmasking force, one that exposes a person's mindset, resilience, and inner strength in ways that success never could. Everyone enjoys the thrill of winning, but how a person handles setbacks, disappointments, and personal losses reveals their true nature. Think about this. You're watching a friend, a co-worker, or even yourself face an unexpected failure. The project didn't work out. The promotion went to someone else. The business idea flopped. What happens next? Does this person take a deep breath, assess the situation, and look for lessons? Or do they lash out, blame external forces, or crumble under pressure? This moment, more than any other, is when you truly see who they are. A person with a strong, resilient mindset understands that failure is not a dead end. It is a pivot point. They take responsibility, learn from mistakes, and move forward with renewed clarity. They do not dwell on what went wrong, nor do they waste energy blaming others. Instead, they use failure as a mirror, reflecting on what they can improve, adjusting their approach, and growing stronger from the experience. On the other hand, those who struggle with failure often reveal a fragile ego. Rather than accepting responsibility, they shift blame to circumstances, to people around them, or even to bad luck. Their reaction may be anger, denial, or even avoidance. These individuals see failure as a personal attack, as evidence that they are inadequate. Instead of learning, they either wallow in self-pity or become defensive, shielding their ego rather than embracing growth. This dynamic is particularly evident in the workplace. Imagine interviewing a job candidate and asking them about a past failure. A mature, self-aware person will describe a challenging situation, explain what they learned, and share how they have improved since then. But someone with a fragile mindset will dodge the question, make excuses, or claim that it wasn't really their fault. Their words, and more importantly, their attitude, will tell you everything you need to know about how they handle adversity. The same principle applies to relationships. If a friend, partner, or colleague constantly blames others when things go wrong, take note. Do they take accountability for their role in misunderstandings, or do they always play the victim? If someone cannot own their mistakes in small situations, they will certainly struggle when faced with major challenges. A relationship with someone who cannot handle failure is like sailing on a ship with a captain who abandons the wheel at the first sign of a storm. Failure also tests leadership. The greatest leaders in history did not rise to power without setbacks. What set them apart was not their avoidance of failure, but their response to it. True leaders admit when they make mistakes. They acknowledge setbacks, take corrective action, and inspire those around them to keep moving forward. Insecure leaders, however, react to failure with defensiveness, anger, or denial. They fear admitting flaws because they tie their identity to an illusion of perfection. This is why Stoicism places such a strong emphasis on resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Meditations. A true Stoic does not waste energy lamenting what has already happened. They focus on what can be controlled, their response, their actions, and their mindset. If you want to test someone's character, observe them in failure. Do they rise from it with wisdom, or do they sink under the weight of self-pity? Do they take responsibility, or do they run from it? Next time you encounter someone facing a setback, watch closely. Their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. And now, turn the lens inward. How do you react when things don't go your way? Do you embrace the lesson and move forward, or do you resist, blame, and dwell on the past? The way you handle failure determines not only your future success, but also the respect you earn from those around you. So here's your challenge. Reflect on your most recent failure. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, ask yourself, what did this teach me? Then, observe someone else's reaction to a setback. What do you notice? Share your insights in the comments below, and if this perspective resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next powerful insight on understanding human nature. 5. How they react to others' success. If you want to see a person's true nature, observe how they respond to someone else's success. This single moment is a window into their mindset, self-esteem, and personal philosophy. Do they celebrate others, or do they shrink in resentment? Do they become inspired, or do they look for flaws? Imagine this. You share exciting news about a recent achievement, a promotion, a major business milestone, or even a personal breakthrough. Now pay close attention to the response. Does the person smile genuinely, ask questions, and express excitement? Or do they offer a half-hearted, "That's great," before quickly changing the subject? Perhaps they even downplay your accomplishment, attributing it to luck, connections, or an unfair advantage. This is not just a momentary reaction, it's a reflection of how they see the world. People with a strong and positive mindset embrace the success of others because they do not see life as a zero-sum game. They understand that another person's achievement does not diminish their own worth. In fact, they see success as proof that great things are possible, using it as motivation for their own growth. These individuals surround themselves with successful people, knowing that inspiration and knowledge are contagious. On the other hand, those who react with jealousy or indifference often operate from a place of insecurity. Instead of seeing success as an opportunity to learn, they see it as a personal threat. They might respond with passive-aggressive remarks, dismiss the achievement as unimportant, or shift the focus back to themselves. These reactions stem from an internal fear that they are not doing enough, that they are being left behind. Their ego cannot handle the idea that someone else is ahead, so they attempt to minimize the significance of the moment. This behavior is especially evident in friendships. A true friend will be genuinely happy for your success. They will celebrate your victories as if they were their own. But a friend who is secretly competing with you will struggle to offer sincere encouragement. They may avoid discussing your achievements, highlight their own struggles to subtly shift sympathy toward themselves, or even criticize your accomplishment in an attempt to level the playing field. Over time, these reactions reveal who is genuinely in your corner and who is only around when it serves their own self-image. In professional settings, the way a person reacts to a colleague's promotion or success can determine their leadership potential. Great leaders uplift others, recognizing that a strong team benefits everyone. They mentor, support, and inspire, knowing that success multiplies when shared. However, insecure managers feel threatened by capable employees. They may micromanage, withhold opportunities, or sabotage those they see as competition. A leader's reaction to success within their team is a direct reflection of their own self-worth. The Stoics understood that envy is a destructive emotion, one that blinds a person to their own potential. Instead of wasting energy resenting others, they focused on self-improvement. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit." Meditations. A Stoic does not compare their path to another's. They remain centered on their own journey. They know that success is not about being better than others. It's about being better than yesterday, Now, let's turn the mirror toward yourself. How do you respond to someone else's success? Do you feel inspired or insecure? Do you celebrate wholeheartedly, or do you feel a pang of jealousy? Awareness is the first step toward mastery. If you notice envy creeping in, use it as fuel for self-improvement rather than self-doubt. Here's your challenge. Over the next week, take note of how people react when you share good news. Observe their words, body language, and energy. Then, do the same for yourself. When a friend or colleague succeeds, check your reaction. Are you excited for them, or do you immediately think about how it relates to you? The way we react to others' success is a powerful indicator of our own inner world. And if this insight resonated with you, share your experience in the comments below. If you've ever noticed a revealing reaction to success, tell us what you learned. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because we're only scratching the surface of understanding human nature. 6. How they act when there's nothing to gain. This is the final and perhaps the most revealing test of all. If you truly want to understand someone's character, observe how they behave when there's absolutely nothing in it for them. No recognition, no rewards, no advantages, just a pure opportunity to do something for someone else. Because in this moment, without external pressures or personal incentives, their true nature emerges. Imagine this. You witness a colleague at work helping an intern, explaining a task with patience, even though there's no professional benefit in doing so. Or maybe you see someone holding the door for a stranger, taking a moment to acknowledge another person's presence without expecting thanks. These small, seemingly insignificant actions speak volumes. When people act kindly without an audience, without personal gain, they are revealing the purity of their intentions. Now, contrast this with another situation. You notice someone who is charming and generous when they need something, perhaps a favor, an opportunity, or validation. But as soon as they have nothing left to gain, they become indifferent, or worse, dismissive. They treat people differently based on what those people can offer them. This is not kindness, it is calculation. It is a transactional mindset disguised as virtue. People who operate on a transactional basis view relationships as stepping stones. They engage only when it serves their goals, whether that's career advancement, social status, or personal validation. They may appear friendly and accommodating, but their warmth fades when the incentive disappears. This behavior is most noticeable in workplaces, where some leaders only acknowledge employees when they need results, yet become dismissive when their assistance is no longer required. A true leader, however, values people beyond what they can provide. They uplift and support their team, even when there is no direct benefit to themselves. In personal relationships, this dynamic is even more telling. Have you ever had a friend who was enthusiastic and engaging when they needed something, advice, help, or company, but when you needed support, they were nowhere to be found? Or perhaps you've noticed how some people only extend kindness to those in positions of power, but treat those they perceive as less useful with indifference. These are warning signs of conditional character, kindness used as a tool rather than a virtue. This is why understanding how someone behaves when there is no external incentive is so important. It separates the genuinely kind from the strategically nice. The former acts with integrity regardless of circumstances, while the latter adjusts their behavior based on what they can extract from a situation. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true virtue is independent of recognition. Epictetus famously said, "A kind act does not need to be seen or acknowledged. It only needs to be right." Discourses. This is the essence of Stoic kindness, doing what is right, not because of external rewards, but because it aligns with one's inner principles. Those who practice this form of virtue do not need an audience. They act with integrity even when no one is watching. So, how do you apply this knowledge? Pay attention to how people behave in small, everyday interactions. How do they treat waitstaff, janitors, or strangers? Are they polite only when it benefits them? Do they offer help without expectation, or is there always a hidden motive? More importantly, turn this question inward. How do you behave when there's nothing in it for you? Here's your final challenge. Over the next few days, observe the people around you. Take note of how they act when no advantage is at stake. Then, reflect on your own actions. When was the last time you did something kind without expecting anything in return? The answer will reveal more about your character than any external validation ever could. This is the final key to truly understanding people. Once you master this test, you will not only see others more clearly, you will begin to shape yourself into someone worthy of trust, respect, and inner peace. And if this insight has made you think differently, share your experience in the comments below. Have you ever encountered someone whose kindness was purely self-serving? Or have you met those rare individuals whose generosity was truly unconditional? Let's discuss. And if you found this perspective valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights on understanding human nature. You now have 6 powerful tests to read people without them realizing it. Each one reveals a deeper layer of a person's true character, how they handle silence, criticism, power, failure, success, and situations where they have nothing to gain. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The Stoics believed that understanding others begins with understanding ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." Meditations. As you apply these insights to observe the people around you, take a moment to reflect inward. How do you react in these defining moments? What does it say about who you are? Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been surprised by someone's true nature in an unexpected moment? Which of these tests have you already witnessed in real life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson in self-mastery and human psychology. And remember, the greatest advantage in life is not to read people, it is to master yourself. Now, here's a challenge for you. Over the next week, apply one of these tests in your daily interactions. What did you discover? Come back and tell us what you learned. Because true wisdom isn't just seeing others clearly, it's having the courage to see yourself.